Hello guys. Today I'm going to feature the Iron Dome of Israel. Uh, or what is Iron Dome? Okay, let's get started. Iron Dome. What is Iron Dome? Iron Dome is a mobile all-weather air defense system developed by Rafael Advanced Defense System and Israel Aerospace Industries. The system is designed to intercept and destroy short-range rockets and artillery shells fired from distance of 4 kilometers (2.5 miles) to 70 kilometers (43 miles) away and whose trajectory would take them to an Israeli populated area. Iron Dome was declared operational and initially deployed on March 27, 2011 near Beersheba. On April 7, 2011, the system successfully intercepted a BM-21 Grad launch from Gaza for the first time. On March 10, 2012, the Jerusalem Post reported that the system shot down 90% of rockets launched from Gaza that would have landed in the populated areas. In late 2012, Israel said that it hoped to increase the range of Iron Dome's interceptions from a maximum of 70 kilometers or 43 miles to 250 kilometers or 160 miles and make it more versatile so that it could intercept rockets coming from the two directions simultaneously. In November 2012, official statements indicated that it had intercepted over 400 rockets. By late October 2014, the Iron Dome systems had intercepted over 1,200 rockets. In addition to their land-based deployment, it was reported in 2017 that Iron Dome batteries would in future be deployed at sea on SAR-6 class corvettes to protect offshore gas platform in conjunction with Israel Barak 8 missile system. Iron Dome is part of a multi-tiered missile defense system that Israel was continuing to develop in 2016 to protect the country from threats ranging from mortars to ICBMs, and which includes Arrow 2, Arrow 3, Iron Beam, Barak 8, and David's Sling. Now, what is the background? The background is Hezbollah, based in Lebanon, fired rockets into northern Israeli population centers in the 1990s, posing a security challenge for the Israel Defense Forces. Israel had floated the idea of its own short-range anti-missile systems, but U.S. defense officials cautioned it that it would be doomed to fail. In 2004, the idea for Iron Dome gained momentum with the installation of Brigadier General Daniel Gold as the head of the Research and Development Bureau of the Israel Defense Forces, or IDF. Gold was a strong backer of the anti-missile project, even skirting Army contracting regulations to secure financing. He also helped persuade key politicians to support the project. During the 2006 Second Lebanon War, approximately 4,000 Hezbollah-fired rockets, the great majority of which were short-range Katyusha rockets, landed in northern Israel, including on Haifa, the country's third-largest city. The rocket barrages killed 44 Israeli civilians and caused some 250,000 Israeli citizens to be evacuated and relocated to other parts of Israel, while an estimated 1 million Israelis were confined in or near bomb shelters during the conflict. To the south, more than 8,000 projectiles, estimated at 4,000 rockets and 4,000 mortar bombs, were fired discriminately in the Israel population centers from Gaza between 2000 and 2008. Principally by Hamas, almost of all the rockets fired were Qassam's launched by 122 Grad launchers and smuggled into the Gaza Strip, giving longer range than other launch methods. Nearly a million Israelis living in the south were within rocket range, posing a serious security threat to the country and its citizens. In February 2007, Defense Minister Amir Peretz selected Iron Dome as Israel's defense against this short-range rocket threat. Since then, the $210 million system has been developed by Rafael Advanced Defense System working jointly with the IDF. In May 2021, it was estimated that Palestinian militant group had an arsenal of about 30,000 rockets and mortar bombs in Gaza, potential targets when fired for Iron Dome. Range varies widely and guidance systems are lacking, but accuracy has improved over the years. There are estimates of the numbers and types of rockets and their range and payload. The name. Project leader Colonel S. and his team in the administration of the development of weapons and technological infrastructure needed an appropriate name of the system. According to the Colonel S., the first name I thought of was Anti-Qassam, but when the project started to move forward, I realized it was problematic. I sat down with my wife and together we thought of suitable names. She suggested the name Tamir, meaning Til Meyeret Interceptor Missile. For the missile and for the system itself, we thought of Golden Dome. The following Sunday, Tamir was immediately approved, but there was a problem with Golden Dome. It could be perceived as ostentatious, so it was changed to Iron Dome. The specifications. The system is designed to counter short-range rockets and 155 mm artillery shells with a range of up to 70 kilometers. According to each manufacturer, Iron Dome will operate day and night under adverse weather conditions and can respond to multiple threats simultaneously. Iron Dome has three central components. Number 1, detection and tracking radar, meaning the radar system is built by ELTA, an Israel defense company and subsidiary of Israel Aerospace Industries, and by the IDF. Number 2, battle management and weapon control, or BMC. The control center is built for Rafael by Empress System, an Israel software company. Number 3, missile firing unit. The unit launches the Tamir interceptor missile, equipped with electro-optic sensors and several steering fins for high maneuverability. The missile is built by Rafael. A typical Iron Dome battery has 3 to 4 launchers, or 20 missiles per launcher. The system radar is referred to as ELM 2084. It detects the rocket's launch and tracks its trajectory. The BMC calculates the impact point according to the reported data and uses this information to determine whether the target constitutes a threat to a designated area. Only when the threat is determined is an interceptor missile fired to destroy the incoming rocket before it reaches the predicted impact area. The comparison to a typical battery. The typical air defense missile battery consists of a radar unit, missile control unit, and several launchers, all located at the same site. Conversely, Iron Dome is built to deploy in a scattered pattern. Each launcher containing 20 interceptors is independently deployed and operated remotely via a secure wireless connections. Reportedly, each Iron Dome battery is capable of protecting an urban area of approximately 150 square kilometers. The funding. The initial funding and development of the Iron Dome system was provided and undertaken by Israel. This allowed for the deployment of the first two Iron Dome systems. Subsequently, funding for an additional 8 Iron Dome systems, along with the funding of a supply of interception missiles, is currently being provided by the United States, with 2 of these additional systems having been delivered by 2012. Funding for the production and deployment for these additional Iron Dome batteries and interceptor missiles was approved by the United States Congress after being requested by President Obama in 2010. In May 2010, the White House announced that U.S. President Barack Obama would seek $250 million from U.S. Congress in this 2011 budget to spur the production and deployment of additional Iron Dome batteries. White House spokesman Tammy Baker stated, "The President recognizes the threats missiles and rockets fired by the Hamas and Hezbollah pose to Israelis, and has therefore decided to seek funding from Congress to support the production of Israel's short-range rockets defense system called Iron Dome. This would be the first direct U.S. investment in the project. Such financial assistance could expedite the completion of the defensive system, which has long been delayed by budgetary shortfalls." A few days later, on May 20, 2010, the U.S. House Representatives approved the funding in 410 for both the bill, the United States-Israel Missile Defense Cooperation and Support Act, H.R. 5327, was sponsored by Representative Glenn C. Ney of Virginia. This money was expected to be included in the 2011 budget. Once the money was received in 2011, it still took a further 18 months before the additional batteries were delivered to the Air Force. On May 11, 2011, Haaretz published that Defense Ministry Director General Major General Udi Shani said that Israel plans to invest nearly $1 billion in the coming years for the development and production of Iron Dome batteries. "We are no longer approaching this in terms of initial operational capabilities, but are defining the final target for absorbing the systems. In terms of schedule and funds, we are taking about 10 to 15 Iron Dome batteries. We will invest nearly $1 billion on this. This is the goal, in addition to the $205 million that the U.S. government has authorized." This is Mr. Shani said. On April 4, 2012, reported a senior Israeli officials during a briefing to a small group of journalists in condition of anonymity predicted the increased interception range of up to 250 kilometers, as well as more flexible aiming of Iron Dome units, thus lowering the number of batteries needed to full deployment in Israel. That would help Israel to cope with the prospect of reduced funding from the United States, while a new round of talks about missile defense funding would be complete in 2 to 3 months. he anticipated. While praising American largesse, the official said U.S. planners have asked Israel to point out honestly the upper limits is in terms of what can be implemented. With the Iron Dome, he said the U.S. is deep in fiscal challenges itself, so it does not want to give money for the sake of it. In exchange for the second tranche of deployment funding, the United States asked Israel for access to and stake in elements of the system technology. Plans for co-production with the United States. With the United States on track of greatly increased funding for Iron Dome, there have been calls for a technology transfer and co-production of Iron Dome in the United States, just as the US and Israel share co-production of the Iron 3 missile system, with Boeing manufacturing 40 to 50% of the production content. There has been support in the US Congress, media, and think tanks in favor of co-production. The US House of Representatives included report language in its FY 2013 Defense Authorization Act supporting Iron Dome with $680 million, but also instructed that the director of the U.S. Missile Defense Agency, Lieutenant General Patrick O'Reilly, should explore any opportunity to enter into a co-production of the Iron Dome system with Israel in light of the significant U.S. investment in this system. There were media reports that the Pentagon was requesting similar language in the Senate Defense Authorization Act as well as the respective House of the Senate Defense Appropriation Bills of the 2013. Adding Iron Dome to the list of high-tech military programs built jointly by both nations would help further strengthen ties between Israel and the United States. In July 2014, it was announced that Raytheon would be the major U.S. partner in co-production of major components for the Iron Dome's Tamir intercepting missiles. The U.S. will supply components through various subcontractors. The design. In 2005, Brigadier General Johnny Gold, then head of Moffat, decided to start the program that would include the system's research and a demonstration of intercepting system. In 2007, Israel commissions the development of Iron Dome, choosing Israel contractor Rafael over the American giant Lockheed Martin. Israel company Impress System was put in charge of programming the core of Iron Dome's battle management system. Iron Dome went from the drawing board to combat readiness within less than 4 years, a remarkably short period of time for a systems or weapon systems designed from scratch, according to the military experts. There was no system like this anywhere in the world in terms of capabilities, speed, accuracy. We felt like a startup. It is said by Ayala, a manager at Impress. According to the leading developers of Iron Dome, due to the schedule and local settings constraints, some of the missile components have been taken from a toy car sold by Toys R Us. The testing. July 2008, the Tamir interceptor missiles underwent successful testing. Number 2, March 2009, Israel successfully tested the missile defense system, through without yet actually intercepting an actual projectile. Number 3, July 2009, the system successfully intercepted a number of rockets mimicking Qassam and short-range Katyusha rockets in defense military or ministry's test. Number 4, August 2009, the IDF complete the establishment of a new battalion that will operate the Iron Dome system. The battalion is part of the Israel Air Force Air Defense Division. The system was to be first deployed along the Gaza border and then along the border with Lebanon. The system was slated to start operating in mid-2010. Number 5, January 2010. Iron Dome successfully intercepted multiple rockets barrages mimicking Qassam and Katyushas. Defense Ministry Director General Pinhas Boutrice stated that the system would ultimately transform security for the residents of southern and northern Israel. Number 6, July 2010. The system successfully intercepted multiple rockets barrages mimicking Qassam's Katyushas. Number 7, March 2011. Iron Dome was declared operational by the IDF and Defense Minister Ehud Barak authorized deployment. During the first stage of Iron Dome operational duty, the Israel Air Force included many soldiers from Sderot, citing high motivation among the city pre-army youth to be part of the project. The 947 Marksman Stinger Battalion of the Israel Air Defense Network was chosen as the first unit to become familiar with the Operate Iron Dome. The energy weapons. Although Iron Dome has proven its effectiveness against rocket attacks, Defense Ministry officials are concerned it will not be able to handle more massive arsenals possessed by the Hezbollah in Lebanon should a conflict arise. Although in Operation Protective Edge, it had 90% hit rate against only rockets determined to be headed for populated areas, 735 intercepts were made at a cost of $70,000 to $100,000 per interceptor, with an estimated of 100,000 rockets possessed by Hezbollah. Iron Dome system could be physically overwhelmed by dozens incoming salvos. In 2014, directed energy weapons were being investigated as a complement to Iron Dome with lower system cost and lower cost per shot. Solid-state lasers worldwide have power levels ranging from 10 to 40 kW to destroy a rocket safely from 15 to 20 kilometers or 9.3 to 12.4 miles away. Several low power beams could not coordinate and converge to one spot to burn through its outer shell and destroy it. Because laser beams become distorted and effective in foggy or heavy cloud conditions, any laser weapons would need to be complemented by Iron Dome. In 1996, the Israelis developed the Nautilus prototype and later deployed in Kiryat Shmona, Israel's othermost city along the Lebanese border. It used a collection of components from other systems and succeeded in keeping a beam on the same point for 2 continuous seconds using an early prototype of the Green Pine radar. Nautilus succeeded in its goal to prove the concept was feasible, but it was never deployed operationally, as the government believed that sending in ground troops to stop rocket fire at source was more cost-effective. At the 2014 Singapore Air Show, Rafael unveiled its Iron Beam laser air defense system. Iron Beam is a directed energy weapon made to complement the Iron Dome system by using a high-energy laser to destroy rockets, mortars, bombs, and other airborne threats. Development of the system began sometime after the joint United States and Israel Nautilus laser development program ended. In December 2014, former Israel Air Force Chief and head Boeing Israel David Avery showed interest in the American Laser Weapon System, or LAWS. Earlier that month, the U.S. Navy had revealed that the laws had been mounted on the U.S. Ponce and locked onto the destroyed designated targets with near instantaneous lethality, with each laser shot costing less than $1. Other uses. In June 2016, it was revealed that the Iron Dome had been tested to successfully intercept salvos of artillery shells, which are typically difficult to destroy because of the need to penetrate the thickness of their metal castings or casings to get to the warhead, and multiple air-to-ground precision-guided munitions similar to the Joint Direct Attack munitions.